Hi, this is Heather Staten from Thrive Hood River, and I had a couple of questions. One, there is a number of middle housing types that weren't included on these prototypes, and I wondered if the city would consider those. So what are often called cottage or bungalow courts. You've probably seen a lot of those from like the 1920s and 30s, one story attached, often in like a U shape. And I can show you some examples of those. Also, courtyard apartments, which are normally like 2 stories, often U-shaped with a central courtyard. Fourplexes, but attached and not built in the form of like 4 townhouses, but looking more like a single family home, but with 4 doors. And so there would probably be, often, sometimes there's entries on multiple sides of the building. Sometimes there's a central hall with a staircase, and, people take the stairs up to their units. So it seemed a little bit like the prototypes were geared towards being able to be sold as individual units, not as much prototypes that are amenable to rentals. So just wondering about adding some additional prototypes that would be good rental structures. So like a 4-plex or a bungalow court. I mean, I guess you could do a condo ownership program, but those would be typically things that you would build and then rent. And then another thing, I know you talked about possibly doing ADUs with duplexes. We have a lot of 3-story townhouses existing with a garage on the ground floor, but also living space on the ground floor. And I've been to a number of them that could easily be converted into a studio apartment plus a 2-story dwelling unit. Either the ground floor be a studio plus the garage, and the 2 levels above that be a larger unit, or the other way around. The first 2 floors be the larger unit, and the attic, the 3rd story, be an individual standalone unit. So just another option for an additional kind of type. And then finally, I wanted to thank Dustin for including that really good illustration of parking versus living space. I think it's like one of the best illustrations of if you require 2 parking spaces, how much living space you're giving away by doing that. So that's all I got.
Dustin, do you want to talk a little bit about those potential U-shaped cottage, attached
we don't
configurations?
But there is in the packet, that not in this presentation, but in the packet, there is a 3, I call a 3+3, which was the 3 attached units side by side. We looked at them, and I can't have a quick recall on them, but there is that's more of that courtyard cluster that provides that central space. I think we talked about it more, and if you required a single driveway, you could serve it from the inside, but a courtyard, if everyone had parking, results in 2 curb cuts on the outside, and it starts giving a very different feel to it. That was also as much of that configuration as it was the impacts of parking. Then in terms of the ADU and the stack, or the 4-flat is also known as the mansion home, built in a single family configuration by its look, but it just has multiple units built into it. So you'll often see that in some of the new urbanist and infill products where they start mixing housing types. You'll have some rather large and ambitious single family homes. You'll have on volume and mass, similar product, but it just has multiple units built into it. Stapleton, Forest City Development, pretty well known for they refer to it as the mansion home. So 4 units, one structure.
Do we have a product type that would allow that with what we're proposing here? Or is it existing?
I don't have a prototype built up for it, but if you wanted to, if that became something you wanted to push for, that could be a 4-flat prototype would be possible.
Well, Dustin, it sounds like a lot of those provide for a more congruent open space. Is that the primary benefit there? I mean, I'm just picturing in my head what that would look like. And it seems like a courtyard would be a better use of open space in those configurations.
It's a little, I think what we noticed is it's the idea that it kind of turns the users in to a single unified common space in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of renders the outside kind of the outside versus
Mhm.
the other way. And you kind of have, you know, it's just two different things, I think. It's on the
Yeah.
inside, a solid driveway, it's all unified, and everyone faces out towards either their neighbors or more maybe their own private space. And I think that's where they're just different. So it's covered or, you know, or private. They're just a little, it's just two different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that's where Commissioner Ramey talked about the idea that this is a promote, you know, when you're turning in, this is kind of that common promotion of community space, common space, rather than, again, individual space facing outward.